Have you ever wanted to use a webinar to sell your online course or your digital offers, but you're not really sure how to host one? I have been doing webinars for years, and they have been a huge part of how I've been able to grow my business. I have had $20,000 days in my business just from hosting a webinar. In today's video, I'm going to take you through exactly what you need to host your first webinar and how to get it set up using my favorite software, WebinarJam. Hi, I'm Gemma Bonham-Carter. I teach entrepreneurs just like you how to create, launch, sell, and scale their online courses and turn their expertise into a successful and profitable business. Okay, so hosting a webinar, not as hard as you may think. There's just a couple of basic things that you need in order to make this happen. Number one, you need your teaching materials. And usually I like to use a slide deck for that. Create a slide deck in Canva. It is free to use, super easy software. There's even slide deck templates out there that you can use to create gorgeous slides so that you can present your material in a really great way. Second thing you need is your actual setup at home. So you need a computer, you need a camera to be able to see your face, and you need a microphone. I use a Logitech webcam and a Blue Yeti microphone. We've included links to those along with this video, so you can head on over to Amazon and check those out if you don't have them already. So you need some kind of home setup that's going to allow you to host a webinar, but this does not need to be fancy, you guys. This can be like in a corner of your bedroom. Just make sure you have a clear and uncluttered background and you're good to go. The third thing that you need is you do need some webinar software that you can use to actually broadcast and go live. Now, you can get bits and pieces of all different kinds of software and kind of like hodgepodge them together, or you can use a software where it's all in one. And that's what I tend to use. I use something called WebinarJam. I've been using it for years and I really love it. And the nice thing about WebinarJam is you don't need anything else. You don't need to touch any other type of software. It is an all-in-one platform. So if you don't even have a website yet, you don't have anywhere to create like registration pages or landing pages, don't worry about it. You can do it in WebinarJam. If you don't have an email service provider yet, like you have no way of communicating with the people who register for the webinar, no problem. You can do it all in WebinarJam too. So it's one thing that I really like about this option is that you can use just WebinarJam and, create that registration page, have people sign up to it, have them get emails before the webinar, and then use their software to actually go live. So in today's video, I want to walk you through what it looks like getting set up in WebinarJam. I'm going to take you through the whole thing step by step. It's going to take about 20 minutes, but this is all you need to set the whole thing up, and then you'll be good to go with an incredible webinar. So let's dive into that. And when you're ready to use WebinarJam for your own business, I have an amazing offer below. If you click on the link, you're going to get a 14-day trial with WebinarJam for only $1. So this will allow you to test it out, maybe even run that first webinar before you pay for an annual subscription. Link is right below my video. Welcome to WebinarJam. This is what it looks like when you come on in. You can see I've used it and done webinars myself. We're going to click on Add Webinar. Express would use a bunch of the defaults that WebinarJam has sort of inserted, but we're going to go ahead with full configuration so we can get control over every little single detail. So we're going to schedule this webinar for later, i.e. sometime in the future. Now here's all of the sections that we need to edit to set up our webinar. So you can go ahead and give your webinar a title. This is actually just going to be what you see. This is going to be the title that the public sees. So you can also add a tagline goes here about the webinar. You can set your language. And then I typically always keep my webinar private, but if you want WebinarJam to list it in the on-demand section, you can select that as an option and choose the category. Here, you could upload an image. So if I had a nice little graphic for my webinar, I would just pop that right there. When I click on presenter, it's going to give my information here. So you're just going to put your own information there. When you sign up with WebinarJam, it's going to auto load that for you. And then in terms of a streaming service, I always use WebinarJam Live. I simply find that the quality of this is really good. You could do YouTube Live if you wanted to go stream directly to YouTube, but I just use the WebinarJam room. So we're going to click confirm. You always need to click those green buttons as you go through. Here is where we are going to actually schedule the date and time for our webinar. So if we're just going to do it once, we're going to keep it on one single session. You might be running it multiple sessions though, or a recurring series. So that's totally up to you. And we are just going to set a date in the future with a time. Sure, 1 a.m. sounds good. Oh, it didn't work. There we go, 2 p.m. It's actually usually the time of day I do my webinars. And you're going to select your time zone as well and click on add. I always leave time zone conversion on because my audience comes from all over the world. So that is helpful for them to be able to see it in their own time zone. We're going to click on next. This is where we get into the actual registration piece. Now, with the registration page, the idea here is this is the page where you're going to send people to get them to sign up for your webinar. And the nice thing is WebinarJam comes with all of these template options. Now, if you already have your own website and you're already creating landing pages that you really like the look of and you want to go ahead and use one of your own landing pages, you can absolutely do that by just choosing this option. However, if you just want to use what WebinarJam already has available, that is a great way to go too, and it is probably going to save you a bunch of time. So you can scroll through these and check out which one of these really has the look that you're going for. And what you can do is before hitting customize, these little icons are for you to actually preview what that style looks like. So you can come through all of these and preview the one, that you think is going to look best. So when you've decided on one, let's say we're going to take that one, we're going to click the customize button and it's going to open up this new screen here where we can edit all of this information. And so this is actually pulling from the webinar title that I had put in, but I can go ahead and here, click that little blue button and come in here and give, in this webinar, you are going to learn, and I might do, a bunch of bullet points here about what they're going to learn. I might call this something different. I find you always have to actually click the blue button to be able to change it. And then this is an image of this girl. But if we want to change it, again, we're just going to click the blue button. And, if we wanted to, oh gosh, I don't even know what this picture is, but let's just go with it. There you go, guys. Funny picture of me. It's not going to look good here. This does not work because it's not the right sizing. If I actually wanted to use this picture, I would have chosen, a vertical picture so that the sizing fit properly, but let's just go with that for now. But that's how you edit, is by clicking this little blue button. And then if I want to edit the background picture, again, I can just click this little blue button and click on upload image, or I can choose color and actually just make it a color if I wanted to do that, and click save. Now this stuff down here is not editable because it is related to when your webinar is going to take place. So you can ignore the text that's here because this is going to update based on the time and date that you have chosen for your webinar. But there is a little blue button here, and if we wanted to change, the color of this, we could. So then we're just going to click on save and exit and click confirm. So that's going to have set up our registration page. Then on the registration form design, this is when somebody clicks that register button, they are going to get a couple of different, you can choose a different sort of look and feel for what you want the pop-up to look like. So, maybe you're going with this kind of pop-up. Oh, look, it's our same girl here. I like the look and feel of that one, so let's go ahead and choose that one. But maybe we want different colors. So maybe I like this orange kind of color better. What does that look like? There we go. That's what it looks like. And if we wanted to, we can go through all these different options. So we're going to click on confirm. The fields that we want, this could be different for you. I typically always just ask for first name and email address and nothing more. But if you wanted to add last name or phone number, you can. Auto subscription for future webinars, I keep that disabled. My webinars are pretty much always free, so I'm just going to leave that as free, and I am not going to password protect the webinar because the only people that are going to get the link to join are those who have actually registered. So we're going to click on next. These are the notifications. So this is like the emails that your registrants are going to get about the webinar, and I always recommend sending emails to make sure that your people know that they've registered and when to come, and give them those reminders because people always are going to forget, right? So with the email gateway, you can just use WebinarJam Mail. And this is a really cool thing about WebinarJam. Like if you're just getting started and you don't have your own email service provider already, just use WebinarJam Mail. That's totally fine. And it connects with the email address that you signed up for with your account. So if there's like replies that come in, it'll come to your email address. So you can click confirm there, and reminder notifications. This is where you can actually choose what emails you want sent to people. So we can say, okay, yeah, I want one sent immediately. They have a default subject line and email written, but we can actually come here and change this if we want. So like I tend to always personalize mine. You know, I might write, sweet, you just made a smart move by signing up for that webinar. Can't wait to see you there. Because I never have a password, I'll just always delete that. And then usually I'll put in even a little signature here. Something like this. And you can change the subject line. So then we're going to click save. And then we can add in additional pre-webinar reminders if we want to send it, 48 hours before, 24 hours before, whatever you want. You can create some of those. And then I always use this 15 minutes before one as well. I would just, change out the text a little bit to feel more branded to me, but I always use that one as well. And you can use the follow-up email too, because this might be like the replay that you want sent out. So this is really handy if you already have an email service provider and you don't want to use these, you can absolutely go ahead and click here on your own autoresponder. And, I use ActiveCampaign, so mine's already connected here, but you would just have to connect, whether it's ActiveCampaign, ConvertKit, MailChimp, whatever you use, you'd have to connect it here. But I love that WebinarJam gives you the option to use to basically do everything on their system. So you really don't need any other tech to do your webinar. So that's it. We've done we had done notifications. Integrations was, if you wanted to integrate it with your email service provider or something else, you can do that there. Third-party tracking. This is where if you have analytics of some kind or a Facebook ads pixel, you can embed that right in there. But we're just going to assume that we're not doing that for now. So typically integrations you don't really need to do anything with. And then the thank you page. So this is the page that's going to show up when someone has said yes to registering. They've put in their name and email address. They're going to come to a thank you page. So there's a default thank you page that you can use from WebinarJam. Alternatively, you can use your own custom page. So if you were to have your own website already, I tend to make my own custom page on my website. So I use WordPress. So I'll just create a new, page on WordPress. So I would put the URL of that page in here, which might just be like GemmaBonham-Carter.com/thank you. And it might have, a funny GIF or a picture of me or something. And it would just say, thanks so much for signing up, add this date and time to your calendar. And I might get them to go follow me on social media, like put a button there to get them to come follow me on Instagram or something like that. But if you don't have a website yet, you can totally just use their default page. Survey your registrants. I tend to leave that disabled. This is like if you want them to send a survey before your webinar, you can. And then the thank you page design. Oh, you know what? I'm so sorry. I said up here you had to just use the default, but this is where you can edit what that default looks like. So we're going to say, yes, we want to use a WebinarJam page, but we can actually choose some options of like what that page looks like, right? You could put your own image there and edit this text just the same way when we hit customize. It's the same as when we were creating that registration page. It takes us here, and all these little blue buttons is how we can edit that. So you can make that look exactly how you want it to look. Then we're going to click on next. This live section is where you can edit all of the stuff to do with what happens when you show up live. So this is yet another page that you can edit. This is the countdown page. What this means is when someone, let's say someone comes to your webinar link like 10 minutes before the class starts, what's the page going to look like that they come to? And so it might just have like an image, and then it's going to have this like starting soon sort of countdown type of look. There are lots of different options here. So you can remind them of what they're about to learn, or have a little video that gets them excited about the class that's about to start. Whatever you want, you can edit there. The webinar room design is really just different colors. Like there's not that much here. You can see it right here, right? Like this has a black background, this is a gray, then there's like different colors here. So if you wanted to, see how these buttons are all a little brighter as opposed to like these ones, which are a bit more muted. So this is really a branding thing. If you want it to look a certain way because let's say your colors are pink or something in your business, maybe you're going to select this one. Polls and quizzes. This is something if you want to add polls that you're going to do during your webinar, you can do that here. I tend not to use this, and I'll simply ask my audience a lot of questions and get them to type their answers into the chat box. Your product, this is where, let's say you're selling an online course in your webinar. This is where you're going to add the information about your course so that it actually, this little preview that you're seeing here will come up at the top of the chat box as they are listening to it. And again, you could like upload a little graphic here. You guys, I do not have one ready for this, so let's just use that picture of me again. You're gonna see a show here, but this is not making me want to buy my own product, but what this is, what I usually put here is a mock-up graphic of my course that's on my sales page. And so you can enter some, text here, whatever you want to say, and add to cart, or it could be like buy here. And then you're going to put the URL for your course, for your sales page. Send them right to your sales page. If you want to add urgency, you can, so that you might have like a countdown timer. You might only have like, so let's say you're only selling 20 spots. You could put that in there. If you want to broadcast sales in real time, you could do that. So those are all different options that you can use here. And we are just going to click, I can't click save because I don't have a URL. There we go. Save. We're going to click confirm. Video injections, I never really use this option. This is just like if you want to show videos during your presentation, you can set that up here ahead of time. Same with a file handout. So if you wanted to give some sort of PDF or a guide or anything, you just upload the file, and then it's going to be available to you to just share with a click of a button in your presentation. And this is where you can put your slide deck. So you're just going to click on add new presentation and upload your slide deck, and it will go right there. Webinar replay. So we can say like, yes, record the webinar session, click confirm. This is details around that replay. So we've said, yes, we want it to record. We want it to be a replica replay. And do we want it to expire? You can say no. Or if you want it to just be available, let's say you want it to be available just for 3 days after the webinar takes place, you can put 72 hours in there and click confirm. And then this is if you want to allow the chat box to be active for your replay. So it's not like obviously it's a replay and they're not going to be able to like chat back and forth with you on the chat box. But if you activate the chat box, what happens is you can send it to, you know, your email address, right? And anything that gets submitted here during the replay is going to get sent to your email address. And what's really cool is then you can actually answer the question via email. So you could just hit reply. It's going to go back to that person because remember they signed up with their email address. So it's going to go back to their email address and you can answer the question for them. And so often they might have a question like about your program. And so it allows you to have that conversation with them and potentially make the sale. So for now, we'll just say don't. But I generally always have that as active. And then we're going to click on next, and that's it. It's officially been created. So we're going to go back to our dashboard here, and here it is, the best webinar ever. But what's important here is when we click on your links, this is where you're going to get all the special links. So here is the link to your registration page. Remember that was the page that we built out. It's not looking great right now, guys, but you can make yours look better. So there's the URL that we can then use to get people to register. We can embed it in our website. So we could actually embed like a registration bar if we want, or an actual button. If we want to put a button somewhere, all of that is available to us here. The direct link to Liveroom, this is going to be sent to your participants in that email that you've set up. But if, you know, let's say it's the day of the webinar and people are asking you for the link right beforehand and they haven't actually signed up and you just want to have the link to send to them, this will send them directly to the Liveroom. And it'll look like this, right? Where they put in their name and email address before they enter the webinar room. And then what's important is on the day of the webinar, you come in here and you're ready to go. You're ready to rock and roll. You can come on over here to presenters. And this is where you go to your live room. So you can send yourself the link via email, or you can go click this button and it says go to live room. And this is where you're going to actually go through and test your resources before the webinar. So they're going to get you to test the sound and the internet connection and all of that kind of thing. So we can click on continue. We see me here. Hello. So we're going to say yes. And then we click on enter room. And this is actually taking us to our webinar room. And I just want you to get a sense of what this looks like. So if I want to turn my video on, you're going to see me there. You can turn the video or the sound off. This is where you could actually screen share. So if I had other things open here, I could actually just screen share maybe even my slides. You can turn a whiteboard on if you want to like do some sort of teaching stuff. You can do that. Let's turn the whiteboard off. And then you can also, this is the big one. This is the green button that says go live. So when you click on that button, that's going to set your presentation, like it's going to start it for all of your participants. Panic button is like if the tech isn't working or something. This is like a help button. Then all over here is just settings. This is just settings for the actual live webinar. So it's up to you if you want to display the number of attendees, if you want them to be able to speak, you know, the size of the thumbnail, the chat box, you know, all of these things. If we had clicked save on that offer, our offer would have been there. Files, slides, like all of these things. So those are just settings that you can play around with. So you can come into this room before the webinar into like a test environment and make sure that everything is looking good and ready to go before your webinar. So you can like get comfortable in here before you start. But that is it, guys. That is it for the WebinarJam setup. It's really pretty easy. It should take you like 15-20 minutes tops. And then the cool thing is once you've done it once, you can click on clone and that will actually clone all of your settings, and you can just go ahead and change the date or whatever that you want for your next webinar, so you don't need to go through the whole process again. Super cool. Highly recommend WebinarJam. See, not that hard. I know you can totally pull that off yourself. So if you want to learn more about how to launch an online course, if you're really wanting to get into the infopreneur marketplace and sell your expertise, I have a free class that I want to let you know about. You can head on to the link that's included with this video or go to GemmaBonham-Carter.com/course-class. In that class, I'm going to be talking you through how to turn your expertise into a highly sellable online course that you can create once and sell over and over and over again. I'm going to talk you through how to craft that course into a no-brainer offer that your audience is going to be super excited to buy. I'm going to walk you through how you can use a pre-sale system to actually get students into your course before you create it so that you're validating your idea. And ultimately, you're going to learn exactly how I went from making $0 in my business to over $500K a year selling online courses and digital products. I will see you there.